I think that my most successful people, and I have some really healthy, strong, high avatar people, but everybody started with their first dealer. So like, don't let this dissuade you. But even if you're new, if you just master a couple of the fundamental exit strategies, then you're.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. It looks like a damn party in the background. Scott, I love it. We just got done Halloween yesterday, so you guys are just getting ready to rock and roll with your party for the whole company. You got 160 employees across the board for Lamassu Leads. You've been doing this for almost 4 years. A real estate investor yourself as well. I can imagine that's how the company got started, in need for yourself. But anybody out there that doesn't know who you are, where you're from, what you're up to, do you mind giving that 30,000 foot view for the listeners?
Yeah, sure. So located actually in Colombia, South America. So where I'm talking to you guys right now, I'm on a different continent and we're doing like real numbers in the United States. But if you walked in here, the reason why I speak so terrible Spanish is you walk in here and you think you're someplace in New York, New Jersey. It's like all of these kids have lived in the States. Almost all of my staff had lived sometime in the States. Something in the family happened culturally, whatever. They moved back here and they missed that piece of the American pie. And all of a sudden I popped up down here and they're like, oh God, take me back. This is great. The American dream came to me. I don't even have to leave anymore. And so, yeah, man, I came down here and this is home. I really have no intentions of leaving. I've raised my two beautiful little daughters here, go to school here. Got a gorgeous crib here, nice little company behind us. And so, yeah, man, I'm just investing from another continent into the United States.
That's crazy, man. So what encouraged you to actually go down there? Were you traveling and you're trying to figure out, where's home?
So when I got into your guys' industry, Brandon, I realized how important CPL is all across all my marketing channels, my cost per lead. And so when I wanted to bolt on to my investing business beyond PPC, which was my initial natural entry, I said, okay, I want to do cold calling, but I couldn't get quality right. And so first what I was like, okay, well, if I wanted to build this on the United States, I can't get the right CPL because it's hard to pay a 19-year-old kid $18 an hour and get the right CPL. So once that was off the equation board, then I tried Egypt, I tried Philippines, and then finally, I tried Colombia and I got a good crew, good numbers, good hours, good culture, but they didn't know how to scale. So I told my business partner, I was like, bro, I'll just move down there for 6 months. This is exactly where I want to do it. These people understand America. They're on the same time zones. They get it down there. And then I came down for 6 months and fell in love. And then all of a sudden this monster started growing. And that's what it started. Like you said in the intro, it was literally to solve my own problem, which was cold call leads that are high quality at the right cost per lead.
Now, where were you located when you were in the States?
Orlando. That's where my closers are at. That's where the investment office is at. And that's where I started my real estate journey, was in Orlando. After I got done with other industries, I made a boat ton of money in other industries, marketing for different verticals. So I kind of always had the marketing background. When I saw REI, I was like, oh, this is an interesting campaign. So let's roll.
So what were you doing exactly before that? And what's real estate for you?
So selling leads to attorneys. And so me and my business partners bought and built from our spare bedrooms, like a really, really monster business, selling leads to attorneys. Ended up getting so big as to where we're meeting politicians to try to influence different bills being passed. Wow. The issue is we got super big and we hit a radar when we were on Rush Limbaugh and all these other really conservative TV shows. And it ended up attracting a little too much attention because technically attorneys shouldn't be buying leads. That makes them ambulance chasers. And so then before you know it, you're kind of like an advisor, but you're a marketing guy. So ultimately that venue got shut down after we did exceptionally well for a while. And my buddy was in Orlando because I'd loaned him money on deals and mobile home parks and stuff. And he was just like, dude, I'm telling you, if you'll just take this business model and put it into your ecosystem, dude, I think you'll kill it. And so I looked at it and I did some really good diligence on the industry and I felt comfortable going into it. And then ultimately, before you know it, 7 dominoes in a row. And now I'm talking to Brandon Elliott from Colombia, South America.
I love it, man. Did you have any friends or family members that were actually doing real estate though prior? Because right now you're still taking down
just that guy.
Just that one guy? Okay. And you're still taking down a couple deals per month typically now?
Yep.
As well as storage units?
Yeah, so we're a primary wholesaling business, cherry picking the good ones at the top for ourselves. Like that's our thing. And we've done exceptionally well. There's always room for growth. We've done really fair there. And then one of my business partners does the commercial side in that business. And so he's the one out there sourcing for the self-storage facilities. And so we got a really, really awesome one in Texas, a couple other ones here in Florida and the Carolinas. And that's about it on the commercial side. Our primary focus is distressed home, just like my clients. So like all this behind me isn't just for me. I have clients now. And so like I'm my only client in Orlando, and then I'll have another guy in Pennsylvania, and I'll have another guy in Ohio, and another guy in Carolinas and Arizona, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just one of my own clients.
I love it. So you focus your leads just in Orlando, and then I know you guys are focusing on a lot of people nationwide, correct? Well,
yeah, pretty much every major market.
Okay. So is there certain markets that are, I guess, like your biggest top 3 or so?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the question is. Like, hey, what's your top 3 in volume? What's your top 3 that you like? What's your top 3 that a newbie could go into? Like, they're so dynamic. I can tell you from a density standpoint, Florida and Texas probably are the 2 states that I have the most clientele in. But there's so many markets interspersed within those 2 states that it's kind of a winner by default. I can tell you that there's certain markets I like more than other, and I have a lot of really good institutional knowledge. Last year, we did 48 million dials just out of this office, and this year we're on pace, obviously, to beat that. But 48 million dials, you get a lot of feedback.
Oh yeah. What does the sales team look like on your guys' side?
So you mean our office here?
Yeah, on leads, not new clients for Lamassu, but actually like lead side.
So to explain the operation, behind me here, out of the 160 some agents that we have, about 90 here are on the phones.
Okay.
And so effectively how I've got this operation running is it really, dialers work by scale. So the more people, the more you're able to do. And so like one agent does more when he's combined with 89 others than one agent would ever do on a dialer by themselves. And so for myself, I'll do about 15,000 dials a day just for my campaign, which is really nothing. And then for my other affiliates, I'll have guys who buy 3,000 dials a day all the way up to, 12, 14, whatever it may be, thousands of dials a day.
I love it. Obviously, so, for yours in Orlando that you focus on, you're kind of doing slow and steady on yours. You're focusing more on the business because I'm sure there's plenty of other customers that you have that are cranking it up on a ton of leads, right?
Yeah, we're probably at the top of my spear, man. I got some of the guys that spend a lot too, but I'd say my top guys are doing 30 to 40 deals a month collectively. And that's a lot. And that's through various marketing channels, but 15,000 dials a day it's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of leads. So yeah, anyways, but that's about it.
When it comes down to markets for new people getting started, because a lot of our listeners tuning in, they might have about a dozen or so properties. But besides that, there's another good chunk of people that are just trying to get out of the day job and actually get in, right? So in today's market, what certain markets would you say somebody brand new getting started would actually thrive in for leads?
Man, that's a great question, Brandon. And it really just kind of depends on what their exit strategy is.
Sure.
It depends on where I would put them. If they're just trying to wholesale, that's kind of a different answer. If they know how to wholesale and novate, that's a different answer. If they're looking to hold or to flip, I think that my most successful people, and I have some really healthy, strong, high avatar people, but everybody started with their first dealer. So like, don't let this dissuade you. But even if you're new, if you just master a couple of the fundamental exit strategies, then you're going to be good. I guess a better answer to your question is going to go about cost per deal. So when you're new, you don't have a lot of money. And so if you got to understand, if you're going to do San Diego, your cost per deal on average across any of your marketing channels could be $14,000, $15,000, $20,000. And so I would never tell a newbie like, hey, if you're virtual, go virtual into there. You're not going to have that type of capital.
Yeah.
You can do the Carolinas and be at that $4,000 to $7,000 per deal average marketing spend. And so I always just tell people like, hey, listen, kind of what's your budget? What's your exit strategy? If you're flexible, what are your abilities to work in an attorney title states versus not? And there's so many different variations to it. But in general, I love the Northeast and I love redneck markets. I like people that want to stay on the phone with you. I like people that aren't getting inundated by the South Florida guys. Calling into Miami is wildly different than calling into Vermont.
Yeah. And San Diego, like you mentioned, it's a little bit more sophisticated, if you will, or you're just, it's a higher cost point for many reasons. But, out here, everybody and their grandmother knows a realtor or somebody that can probably get the equity out for them in one way or another. But out here, you can also, when you get a good deal like that, it costs you 20.
Your spreads are bigger.
Yeah, you can get 100 or more thousand on it. So it can really add up.
What I find is it also matters by marketing channel, Brandon. So I'm in the outbound side. And so different markets respond differently. You call for $1 million house. That education level is typically higher than a $300,000 house. No disrespect to the people. And depending on what the cohorts are, the motivators depends on if they're more likely to answer a random call or not. And so all of the things, these matter by different marketing channels. The reason why mail or text or SMS or PPC or PPL or whatever performs differently has a lot to do about the community and the price point. And so just being able to see it all, if you had not unlimited money, but if you had enough to get you through your education curve, I love the tier 1 A+ markets, the Los Angeles, the San Diego, the Phoenixes, the Las Vegas, Nevadas. Those spreads are so big. The Miamis, the spreads are so big compared to the other markets. You just got to have enough cushion to withstand what it takes to build a pipeline.
Yeah, that's so good. The education needs to be there. And just that, that running cost to get started. But afterwards, you're rocking and rolling.
Exactly right.
Talk to me about leads in general. Like, how are you guys actually getting your list and doing the calling and preparing, scrubbing it and so forth? What does that look like?
Yeah. So another thing that I kind of had to solve, which was once I started getting clients, I realized everybody went to some random mastermind and this guy said, pull this list and this guy said this data vendor. And before you know it, dude, I would just get the most atrocious, ugly files. It's like, bro, have you even looked at it yourself? Like, did you even see what you pulled? And so at some point I just said, hey, listen, if you want my services, yes, I'll call your data, or let me just be a red carpet all-in-one company. And I literally started my own data company called SynergyData.io. Currently, it's really just for my Lamassu clients, but I had to start my own data company to be able to have the best advantage, right? Like, because where you're alluding to is you might want to pick up the phones just like I want to offer that service. But if somebody gives me crappy data, it's going to make me look like I'm bad on my end. And so my whole objective there is like, hey, if I pull the data, skip the data, call the data, and it's a rock star, there's only one person to give credit to. And if it's not, there's only one person to blame. And so like, I want all that smoke. So we procure our own data. And I would just say, we're really good at making sure we have intelligent filters that aren't greedy. And what people have happen is I have this one whale deal. They were like, oh man, I got a deal over here. And then all of a sudden they go away from all the basic fundamental principles and they just do something really peculiar. And so we look at, when was it last purchased? 2018 and older is typically what we like. What was the year build, depending on the market, 1950, 1960, that matters. Bedrooms, we definitely really try to go towards the 3-bedroom distressed. We like those a lot. And then you get your normal flags that you would traditionally do, which is, your pre-foreclosure, pre-probate, divorce, water shutoff, eviction, absentee out of state, then absentee in state, no transaction details, and then finally owner occupied. So those are the kind of the things. And then we also look at ARV and last sold price. And so all of this collage of information helps us recommend what 20 to 50,000 records are going to be the most valuable in that market.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the leads are only as good as the data that you're actually looking at and stirring up. you mentioned a bunch of different great criteria that, anybody actually, they should be taking notes on this, guys. So rewind that if needed and soak that up. A lot of good knowledge right there just dropped. When it comes down to the year, you mentioned a certain range, depends on the market. Talk to me about that for a little bit. There's certain aspects as far as quality or plumbing, electric, and so forth that has been changed at certain year, points in certain areas.
Yeah. So the 2 years that we look at are the purchase date. And so we want to make sure there's ample equity in there. And so that's why I don't even really care about what the records tell me on LTV. I just know that they bought it 2018 or older, that we got now 6 years, 7 years of equity buildup and 7 years worth of mortgage pay down. So that person's got a nice spread.
Okay.
And in regards to the year built, we like things that are older built. Those are the ones we know that those kitchens are very likely statistically going to be the original kitchens. Or if it was rehabbed, probably right before it was last sold in 2017. So 2014, 2012 rehabs. And so that's why we just like the older houses. You have to be very careful in some of these northeastern states like Philadelphia. If you go all the way back, you'll have homes that are, townhomes or row homes, that are in the 30s and the 40s. And so you want to avoid the overly old for most markets, because if you're in this space and you're saying, I'll wholesale first to get started and then I'll invest or whatever, you got to think like a buyer would. And a buyer's really not going to want a 1920 properties with the old tube electricity and stuff. Yeah. And so there's so much stuff that you can get it so good and narrowed in that you're calling people that not only want to sell, but also your buyers want to buy, and you're not wasting effort on something that doesn't fit those two Venn diagrams.
Yeah, the knob and tube electric is really, it's crazy.
It's a thing.
So, I mean, there are properties like that, though, right? Some of my first dozen properties I was buying in the hood, and it was, the 1920s and so forth, 1930s. Yep. A lot of mistakes on those. But, do you find that some people are still willing to do the BRRRR strategy or flip them?
Yeah, I think when it comes to it, it's all about how you start and then where you expand. And so what I always tell people is, let's go after our ideal deal avatar first. And then we're going to have to do one of two things. Like if you only stay at your ideal, your circle's going to be so small that you will get a law of diminishing returns in regards to deal volume. Because at a certain amount of time, you've collected the universe of your data. But as soon as we've hit the wall, there's no need to keep on hitting. We'll still always work that data, but now we expand our age a little bit older and a little bit older, or go a little bit higher here. And so that's when I would say we go after some of those other ones that pop up there. But an initial, because, thinking for beginners here, I like those cohorts. And then you can always expand and loosen it up as cash flow is coming in to pick up some of those other deals.
It's good. I love it. So you guys are only doing outbound calls, right? You're not actually doing any postcards or any other marketing channels.
SMS. I'd literally just partnered with a company in China because Launch Control really took a kick in the nuts, which was the platform that we were using at scale for our affiliates for a long time. So we just partnered with a company out of China, and which is good for me because it gave us, I used to say, like, if you can't beat them, join them. Now I say, if you can't beat them, go around them, because that's what we did with the carriers. So we now do outbound SMS too, which is working fantastic. But everything we're doing is cold outreach here because that's the lowest CPL out of all of the marketing channels. And it has the highest ROI when done correctly because of the low CPL. It's just, math here. But we try to make them really quality outbound leads.
As far as there's a lot of crazy regulations, rules, and so forth when it comes down to SMS and violations, and people that are sue happy, that try to do a lot of things like that. So is there ways around that, or I guess just a certain path that you guys have to follow to stay compliant?
There is. I think the first thing is to realize the difference between rumors and reality.
Sure.
And so a lot of people really think that there's laws prohibiting from using these text messaging platforms. What happened was the Congress was going to come after the carriers, and the carriers said, well, wait a minute, we'll police ourselves, because that's how good lobbyists work. We say, hey, we'll police ourselves. And that's when you started to hear all these phrases like 10A2DP and like all these new regulations that were being set up. And it's really just a homeowners association for the carriers. So what they're really trying to avoid is these guys and gals in places, offshore countries, scamming people, IRS scams, et cetera, et cetera. There's just so many bad scams that happen. So, we stay compliant. We register all of our websites. We go through all that. But the most important part for my clientele is I'm doing the initial conversation. I'm vetting and verifying those customers. I'm qualifying that lead. And at the end of that lead, I'm getting permission for them to be contacted back by the local investor in that area. So by the time it actually makes it through the entire life cycle, it becomes an opted-in lead for that affiliate.
I love it. As a business owner, you've had multiple businesses in the past. You've been doing this the last couple of years. You grew something tremendous at this point. I'm sure there's some learning curves along the way. Anything big that stands out to you that you're like, holy shit, I wish I didn't have to learn that one, or something that would be useful to the listeners?
I've always been blessed to be in high ticket sales. And so I've always thought of myself as being like really blessed. And my goal was always to be like one of the best salesmen, sales trainers, sales. And I love sales. I eat, sleep, and breathe. I think the art of communication, the power of persuasion absolutely radicalized my life and gave me so much that I wanted to give myself, my family members, these kids. So I'm a big advocate of sales beyond.
Love it.
But recently it's been, I appreciate how much I enjoy and have grown as a CEO and as a leader and what that means. And it's a whole nother level to this other hustler thing. Now it's this really mature version of that kid. And so to answer your question, man, I would probably say accountability is the number one driving factor of the success of our company. No metric hides in our company. No person is left behind in our company. Everybody knows when you walk into here, the winners will be celebrated. The losers will be acknowledged. Yeah. But we create this culture not to demean, but to identify who needs help. But we will only surround ourselves with people who want to be helped, who exhibit help. A kid got terminated today, and I had to write in the Slack channel to the company, effectively like, hey, listen, he wasn't terminated because of his talent. He was terminated because of his attitude, his unwillingness to learn, because he had made a mistake. He was warned about this mistake. He was suspended over this mistake. And he made this mistake, a simple mistake. It's like, why would you guys even care? We care because we ask everybody else to do it. And if you're not willing to do it, then you cannot be part of this dream team. And so accountability, without being a hover helicopter parent, has been the main driver to everything here.
Yeah. And do you have a COO in place that's kind of building out the departments?
No, we don't. It mainly goes from me to all of our department heads. Okay. I have our CFO, who we kind of leverage, but we have a really solid leadership team. Yeah. Those 7, because I'm in this business daily.
Yeah.
In this daily. So all the department heads all answer directly to me. So I'm wearing both hats on our chart. It literally says CEO, COO. Yeah. For now, I'm wearing both hats. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Where does it look like in the future for you guys? Like what are the next 12, 24 month goals for you guys?
There's a lot, man. One of the things that I'm excited about is providing jobs down here. I can't emphasize enough, Brandon, how blessed I feel. Like today, dude, we're throwing a big party for these kids. Yeah. They got to do their family thing last night. Tonight's Friday night for these kids. These 4 walls, I'm in a developing country. Let's call a spade a spade. Sure. These 4 walls with arcade room and park ping pong and foosball and a safe place to party and have fun. These kids love and appreciate what they see here. And so my forecast is, how do I continue to get more people who wildly appreciate this job opportunity? How do I grow that for more kids here? That's the foundation of the forecast. The functions on top of that foundation will be more closing here in-house. We already have a great TC dispo team here, more property management here in-house. At some point, I'll either get bought out on this side. When I say bought out, just the IP from the data. The results that I have right now, somebody needs to grab up. But more importantly, I don't see me forever having affiliates. At some point, I just say, okay, let's bolt on another market and let's bolt on another market. Okay, now all of Florida is mine. Now I'll move up to Georgia and now that. And so we have our eyes on another state to bolt on now, but that's it, man. I just see us growing it more in-house because we've now learned and mastered the nuances of different markets and helping other people scale. At some point, we'll sunset those clients and then consider venturing into those markets one day.
I love it. Super inspiring. When it comes down to, a lot of companies, especially data companies, the data is really where it's all, that's where the money's at, right? And so you guys play around with a lot of data. Does that make the company more valuable? And are you guys doing other things with that data afterwards?
Yeah. So it's the data, and then it's the results that the dialer tells us.
Sure.
So that 48 million dials, every single disposition, dialer or human disposition, is captured and passed back to our data ocean, and then it scores the numbers accordingly. And it notates like, okay, this number actually appeared here, that was wrong here, it appeared here, and this was right. Okay, this was the conversation that we had. And so every single activity that happens at scale in my company, it has a score that gets fed back into the data ocean. And so that becomes the nuances where I can literally say, if you said, hey man, I wanted to go into Hartford, Connecticut, I can look at Hartford, Connecticut, I can see what data cohorts perform the best, and I can say, hey man, I know what list to pull in this market to make it happen. And so that's what matters for me on the data side, because we all have one goal, which is the least amount of work for the most amount of results. And that's what the data helps us do.
I love it. Yeah, I love the service overall. When it comes down to, somebody wanted to work with you guys, they just heard about you, they're watching this. What would it look like? What is the process that you guys give that white glove kind of experience?
Yeah, so every single person who's ever worked with us in 4 years, even if I wasn't the one who did the onboarding or consultation, gets approved by me. And so the things that I'm looking for is like, first off, the badass. I don't want a hobbyist. I don't want to worry about you calling the leads or not. I'm not working this hard for us to fail. So like, I want to know more about these people, and they don't have to be super whales. They can be getting towards starting out or got a couple of deals under their belts, but just looking to get stronger. But what we're looking for from them is somebody who has multiple exit strategies and understands the value of this highly motivated lead. For the customer standpoint,
you say it that way because you don't want to waste the lead either, right? All the money, and you don't want to mess up the reputation that you guys have built.
Definitely the reputation side, but and I saw your sales background, so you're going to appreciate this, but just nothing. I don't give a shit if I was walking into a car dealership and I saw somebody walk in and be treated bad or ignored. I was like, what are you doing to that lead, bro? Yeah. Like, are you stupid? Yeah. And so I just have this, after 23 years in high ticket sales, I just have this adverse reaction to somebody treating any lead in any industry like shit. Yeah. So that's why it's like, I just want to make sure we worked hard. You're going to do it because I can put somebody else in your market, bro. No problem. Yeah. And so, that's that side of it. And then also too, man, like, somebody it goes both ways. Like, I have to perform and you have to perform. Yep. So that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Scott, bro, I appreciate your time greatly on this. How can the rest of all the listeners basically reach out to you and connect?
Well, man. So, yep. So I'm really big on authenticity, Brandon. That's why I like your vibe. I love your content as well, too. But authenticity to me in the REI space, we need more of it. So the first thing I just tell people to do is just like hop on Instagram, hop on Facebook, find me. If you find me on Instagram, it's at Lamassu, Lamassu leads, because I want you to see behind the scenes. I want you to see exactly what we're doing and that this is a real deal enterprise operation. And that's what I would say. You hit me up on a DM, say, hey, I'm more interested in your services, etc. You could go to lamassuleads.com, and that would also take you to a forum so you could learn more about the services. But I'm a really open book. So if somebody's just like, hey, man, I'm just curious. I had a question on this, on what you're doing in your dialer. I need help with this. Just hit me up on IG. I respond, or my team responds to everything. And it'd be my pleasure to help anybody who cares about sales get better at what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that. I love where your heart's at, brother. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Guys, definitely reach out to Scott and Lamassu Leads. That's where it's at. They've been in the game for the last couple of years, and I've been in plenty masterminds. I hear the name come up very frequently in all the good ways. So if you're looking for that white glove service and getting the best of the best leads to be able to serve and really grow and scale your business, it's a no-brainer. He is managing 160 employees right now. So make sure that you are, not wasting his time and actually blessing him, but reach out to him, wealth and knowledge. And if you guys want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram, Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, check out our business page, Credit Counsel Elite on IG. And if you haven't already checked out creditcounselelite.com, what are you waiting for? We are helping you get out of that 9-to-5 and get the funding that you need to be able to start a business, grow and scale a business, showing you how to get access up to $500,000 in the next 30 to 90 days with interest rates as low as 0%. If you want to learn more about that, and I know it sounds too good to be true, check it out. It is on creditcounselelite.com. It will explain a little bit more. Afterwards, you can book a call with either me or someone on our team, and we'll be able to give you that roadmap of what that looks like. So we'll see you guys next time. Scott, appreciate you, brother, greatly. Have fun today, guys. God bless.
Talk to you, brother.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.